What's up, guys? Welcome into Packers Total Access. My name is Clayton. You can check us out on Packernet.com. Find me on Twitter at Packers_access. Flying solo as of the moment. Jacob should be joining us here shortly if everything goes as planned. I know we got a busy evening here at our homestead, so hopefully we can get you guys at least a minimum of a 40-minute episode here before we have to cut out. As Holmes asks, is Clay at the bar? No, sir, I'm not at the bar, Holmes, but won't be a bad place to be right now. I'm just saying. So anyway, hopefully everybody's having a good day. I know the weather was beautiful down here in Tennessee. It seems like spring is starting to break loose. I'm going to be in the 70s a lot next week as well. So we're off and running. Emilio's still obviously at the beach, living in paradise, sending us pictures, making everybody mad. And so here we are. Tim is still battling the symptoms. Get well soon there, buddy. Hopefully you get to feeling better by tomorrow. I know he hates missing out on the show, but at least he says he does. I don't know. He's probably like me. Just rather skip every now and again. But anyway, appreciate everybody swinging through the chat. We've got Greg in here. Let's see. We've got Clint. We've got the whole gang, Blake. A couple of new names in here. PJB, good to see you, buddy. We got Josh Martin, Chris the Casual in the house. Far too many to mention them all. Bates, Mr. Larry, Aaron, Timothy. If I'm saying that correctly, Mountain Man Pack, good to see everybody. Let's just jump into what we wanted to talk about this evening. Nate Hobbs, I don't know how you guys feel about this, man. He's either going to be like a leader of the team, a spark plug type player, or he's going to end up being one of those dudes that just talks too much and he didn't amount to anything because he is on fire with the sound bites coming in. Obviously, you've probably seen the videos of him, on Lambeau Field, just sending kind of a introductory, I guess you could say, message to the Packer fans. Really excited to see what he does, man. But here he was the other day in front of the media. A little bit of language here. You got kids in the room, ear muffled. If you're riding in the car, go ahead and take it off Bluetooth for a second. Just lasts about 12 seconds. But I thought this was a really cool response to the question.
Team needs me to do. I'm a dog, so I'm gonna step wherever I step. If I step at nickel, I step at corner. If they need me to play safety, guy, damn it, I'll play safety.
So obviously he was asked the question of where he might fit in, and his response was, "Look, man, they want me to play corner, I'll play corner. They want me to play slot, I'll play slot. They want me to play safety, then damn it, I'll play safety." And I know it's hard to hear that. I apologize. We have the volume cranked as high as we could. Nate Hobbs is one of those players that, again, I think he's going to come in and he's going to have a fire lit under him. I don't think he's going to rest on his laurels with that contract that he got because it was a decent contract. Let's be honest. It wasn't like a vet minimum or anything. It was starter money contract, right? Not necessarily top 5 or top 10 corner money, but I think the contract they laid out was kind of like, hey, look, here you go, man. Here's an opportunity to solidify yourself as one of the starting corners on this team. I don't think there'll be any scenario where he's not a starter. I think he'll be on the field in the base defense, and whether he plays nickel whether he plays slot in the nickel defense or not will remain to be seen. But I'm really excited to see what Nate Hobbs can do on this team, and he plays very aggressive. That's the big thing that sticks out to me. As like Greg Rice says, Hobbs is a willing tackler. Sounds like a great teammate too. Completely agree. And Clint here says he liked the interview as well. Aaron in the chat says Hobbs is an exciting player in this defense. I don't want to draw any comparisons just because he's wearing 2-1 to Charles Woodson. Nobody will play like Charles for a very long time in Green Bay, in my opinion. But when you think of how Charles Woodson played, we would put him in that nickel spot in Dom Capers' zone blitz defense. And boy, they fired him off of that edge many, many a time, right? He kind of plays like Woodson's style. Woodson had that style when he got to the ball carrier. He was a little violent. He somewhat perfected, not necessarily the peanut punch where it's kind of up and under and punching the ball out. But what Charles would do is as he got there to wrap up and tackle, he'd grab with one hand, and on the other hand, as he's securing the tackle, he would punch down on the ball, right? You kind of see a little bit of that in Nate Hobbs' tape. You see a guy who when he gets to the ball, he goes after the ball, whether it's, breaking up a pass. There was one interception, if I remember correctly. We watched it, and I'm sure it may have been even from his rookie year, where he just kind of attacked the receiver as the ball got there and just came away with the ball. He just seems like one of those guys, and that's a hard thing to teach when someone's just got that nose for the ball. Yeah, you can rep it constantly, in practice. But at the end of the day, man, players just got to have a knack for that ball. That's what Charles Woodson always had, whether it was college or the pros. Anybody who's hearing my voice, you may have only seen Charles Woodson play in Green Bay because you're a Packer fan. Take a second and go watch his highlights at Michigan. It's unbelievable what he did with the Michigan Wolverines. And it kind of feels like Hobbs, again, I'm not saying he's that caliber of player, but he kind of plays with that same style. You know, some defensive backs, they contain the big play. They're not very aggressive, breaking on the ball, all those things. Hobbs, it seems a little different. Seems like he's willing to make that mistake and play aggressive. And I don't have a problem with that, to be honest with you. Like, you can never be too aggressive going after the ball carrier, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Like, we seen Ja be too aggressive, breaking off of his personal responsibility within the scheme to the best of our knowledge, looking at the tape, looking at the other 10 players and going, okay, I think this was the call. Man, he was supposed to be a deep third on that side, and he just jumped the flat. Like, little things like that he was a little more aggressive with, but he wasn't as aggressive tackling the ball carrier. Nate Hobbs seems like he's going to be aggressive tackling the ball carrier. There's no doubt about it. So I'm really excited about him. Drew D, it's funny, Drew, isn't it? Like when we signed Nate Hobbs, it was kind of like, man, that's a lot of money for a person I've never heard of. And then the more you dig into the tape, the more you dig into, okay, he had an excellent rookie year. All of those things compiled the RAS. As Drew says, Nate Hobbs feels like he should have cost us more. And that's where it kind of feels like it's either going to be a boom or a bust with him. You know what I'm saying? So we got Jacob joining us now, man, fresh off the grind today. How you doing, Bob?
I'm doing all right. You guys talking a little Nate Hobbs?
Yeah, man, just talking about his play style a little bit. And I played a clip of him in the locker room. I don't know if you've seen it or not, where he was asked, maybe I didn't see the exact question, but Matt Schneiden posted the video. He answered the question as if it may have been something along the lines of, where do you fit in this defense? He said, I'll play slot. I'll play corner. He said, GD, if they want to put me at safety, I'll play safety. Like, he seems like one of those dudes that's excited to get on the football field. And it was really cool seeing his reaction to walking on Lambeau Field the first time. I always love those type of videos. But how you feeling about it, man? As the smoke's kind of settling here, Jacob, is Nate Hobbs growing on you, or are you still pretty skeptical about that side?
I'm actually very comfortable with the signing now, especially when you look at the guaranteed money. I think that was a good exercise that we actually did, where you actually looked. I mean, there's always this shocking kind of headline of, hey, you got 4 years, 77 per, or whatever that is. You know what I mean? Like, you kind of focus on the wrong number. We've always learned that, especially with Goody contracts, especially with Packers contracts, just wait. Like you just said, let the dust settle. See if it's front end loaded, if it's back end loaded, if there's voidable years, if there's all this kind of stuff. I think that specifically with with Nate, or I'm sorry, with Hobbs, that he does seem to fit. Whether or not it's going to work out is obviously going to be seen. But as far as all the intangibles, I think that he meets every single thing we look for, as far as being a locker room guy, as far as being a plug and play guy, as far as being like a guy that can be versatile. I mean, what more could you ask for? I think so.
Yeah, definitely. Fred McFarley says, Rusty. That's right. We got Rusty Hurtson in the house here. Andy Monday says, I don't think the Las Vegas Raiders have a very high team expectation. Get a talented guy like Hobbs and expect great play and get great play. Man, there's really something to that. And I know people kind of scoff at this idea, but I was told by a business leader several years ago that you almost never get what you deserve, but you almost always get what you expect. And there's a lot of truth to that. And I know people think, there's a good portion of the public that when you say, yes, speak what you want, speak it into existence. Aaron Rodgers used to talk about it, and everybody laughing. What a kook. I'm telling you, boys, it's a real thing. Whether you're a Christian like me or a non-believer, it's a law that's sown into the earth, man. You ever heard, what goes around comes around? You get what you expect, that type of thing. I'm telling you, man, when you lay it out there and you speak it into existence, when you say it, you begin to believe it. And when you begin to believe something, your daily actions change and you create what we call good habits. And all of a sudden you look up and you're consistently doing things that you should be doing to obtain the goal that you spoke into existence. I'm telling you, it's a real thing.
What do you call that? Manifestation?
Yeah. And, it's hilarious too, because the people who say, oh, that's silly, typically their life's miserable. and they're in the gutter all the time and they're constantly complaining. They're blah, 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 blah. You say something like that to a successful person, whether it's in business or a successful marriage or whatever it might be, they'll go, it's true. It's just amazing how that works. So that's why it's important to check the fruit on the tree before taking advice from people. And the other thing, you're the sum total of the five people you hang out with the most, right? You spend the most time with. Look at the 5 people that you talk to the most, and I just about guarantee you your life is kind of right there in that ballpark of how they live. And it doesn't mean you turn your back on your friends, but I'm just telling you, you surround yourself with successful people and positive, like-minded people that actually give a rip about other people. It's amazing how things fall into place. And I kind of feel like that's the type of aura that Nate Hobbs is putting off. I'm excited about it. And again, I don't think it's going to be anything in between. He's either going to be, man, that was a damn good pickup, or yeah, that just didn't work out, boys. Let's cut bait here in a couple of years. I don't think it's going to be nothing in between. So Greg Rice says, great DBs have a memory of a goldfish. I don't know if you get beat occasionally. I think he's saying, I don't know if you get beat occasionally. Play aggressive. Good things will happen. I've always heard that too. And I'll tell you somebody who had a short memory is Jair. Jair would blow a coverage and give up a 60-yard touchdown. And then the very next drive, break up a pass, and he's fired up. Like you could tell he did not give a rip. And you do have to have a little bit of that. I know it's big in baseball too. You cannot think about the last at bat. If you're thinking about the last at bat, you will not be prepared for the current at bat. That's just the way it goes. Ron Samble, last year the Locked On Raiders guy said Jacobs would be exactly what he turned out to be. He just said the same positive things about Hobbs as long as he could stay healthy. That's exciting, Jake. That's really exciting.
Yeah. I mean, I've heard nothing but Raiders fans being absolutely livid that they let this guy walk.
Yep.
I don't know about you, but I mean, like, I have not heard one single Raiders fan be like, good, we didn't need him, good riddance. It's all been like, he performed like he didn't get a chance, or he should have had more time, and he got bit by the injury bug. To me, what it feels like is, you remember when we let a few guys go in our career, the Micah Hydes, that type of thing? Mm-hmm. That's what it feels like. Like, if you put yourself in the other fan base's shoes, this is what it feels like. Who's the other guy that was so, another DB that we let go that ended up being quite decent for his career? I can't remember. Chat, if you can remember, let me know.
Went to the Chargers, right?
Casey Hampton Hayward. Is that what it was?
Casey Hayward, yeah.
Okay. Yeesh. Yep. There it is. Fred already knew. There you go.
There you go. Yeah, everybody knows that name. Right? Because I remember, like, man, you'd like to have paid him, and then he goes to the Chargers. Like, you got to be kidding me! Like, he turned into a Pro Bowler, right?
What do you feel about Ballantyne getting swooped up?
Yeah, who did he sign with?
I thought it was the Chargers.
I think the Chargers. You guys know how I felt about Ballantyne last year. I felt like he should have gotten the nod over Eric Stokes, and even Carrington Ballantyne. Now, that did not surface at all. Obviously, the coaching staff seen that totally different. And that's where Carrington ended up getting. It's funny, too, Jacob, like halfway through the seasons when Carrington started getting his reps, it still kind of pisses me off. I ain't going to lie that it took the coaching staff to the second half of the season to go, yeah, Eric Stokes ain't the guy. I know he had a couple games here and there, but it was just never there, man.
And, we've made a podcast about how we need to take a step back and realize that we're not in the front office. We're not experts. But the one thing that is kind of a perpetual thing, it seems like, is that either we draft people for the wrong reasons, blah, 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 or we possibly put too much money into the guys that we've already drafted. And we're like, we're going to make sure that this guy has all the opportunity in the world, even when possibly it should just be realized that maybe we made a bad decision and that guy doesn't deserve to be out there. And we kind of highlighted it a couple podcasts ago when it's like, is the best guy on the field or is the guy that has the contract on the field? And I don't want the guy that has the contract having a proverbial. Yeah, exactly. I don't give a crap what the contract says. I want the best. If it's the offensive line, I want the best 5. If it's the defensive line, I want the best 4. If it's the linebackers, I want the best 3. If it's the cornerbacks, I want whatever the starting 5 is. I don't give a crap what it means on the dotted line as far as what Goody signed or what the contract is. I just want the best players to play the game. And I don't know if we've been seeing that lately. And that's if I have one gripe with the front office, that would be it.
Yeah. I'm with you, man. And there's a fine line too. Like, you don't want to give up on your guys. I heard somebody talking on another pod earlier this week that many people look at LVN like, well, he's a bust. He's a bust. Well, it's only been 2 years, really 1.5 years. I don't even know. It really 1 full year, because he didn't play much his rookie year, right? And then last year, it was about halfway through the season when we got rid of Preston Smith, or whenever it was, a few weeks into the season. Then you start to see him get more reps. And even then, he's not getting as many reps as some other players. But the stat that they compared, Jacob, was what's his name? Trey Hendrickson from Cincinnati. If you look at their PFF grades for the first 2 years of his career and look at LVNs, like, you would have said Trey Hendrickson was a bust. And now all of a sudden he's one of the best pass rushers. See, there's just a thin line there between, you've got to be patient, but also I'm with you. If at any point you feel like, well, this guy's better, but that guy's ceiling's higher, no, put the best product on the field. Injuries are going to happen. He's going to get his opportunity. Let's just let's put the best 11 out there for sure.
I mean, I look at what imagine what our season maybe could have been like. And usually we talk about how one player wouldn't make or break how things would have went. Adrian Cooper at middle linebacker, or at least a starting linebacker. Starting from the year, he's in there every single snap on D's. I guarantee we would at least won 2 more games. I would argue. I mean, the guy was just he was that much of a difference maker, to the point where it's like, get the guy on the field. I don't know what the heck we're doing, but
and injuries played a little bit of a role in that with Camp, but still, there was I know what you're talking about. There were several games where it's like, can we not keep him on the field? Every time he's on the field, he makes a freaking play. Stop taking him off the field.
It's like when the announcers are like, man, every time he's on the field, this guy is trying to play.
That's exactly right. Yeah.
That's what back in the 1940s was. Hey, Adrian Cooper back on the field. Every time he runs, he pops his head off. Grab your hot dogs.
What was the name? Buckets? What the Buckets? Anyway, and we found out later why he was called Buckets. Do you want to tell the fans here, Jacob?
It's because he had a big old donk.
That's right. He had a dump on him. He had a dump truck.
Yeah.
So there you go. Speaking of dump trucks, what's up, Brian Santo? He's like, all right, I'm never tuning in again, Clayton. Now, good to see you in, everybody. Appreciate you swinging through. Let's see here. The Bloody Swamp said, what about another vet corner, Chidobe Awuzie? I hope I'm saying that right. Just got released. He's 6 foot tall, 192 pounds, and he has a top 20 run defense grade, but coverage is off. But I feel he fits Hafley, and he's 29. Finna, I love how you said that. Finna turn 30 soon. We actually got his PFF right here ready to roll. Let's take a look at it real quick and just see if we'd be interested in this guy. Obviously, he just got cut. Probably not going to warrant a huge contract, right? So he's been in the league since 2017. Here are his PFF grades. I'm going to drop this down. Bloody Swamp. Appreciate the comment there, pal. So starting in 2017, 78, 63, 72, 52, 75, 69, 62, 64. Jacob, that don't look too bad, to be honest with you, man. You know what I mean? Like, the 52 looks bad, don't get me wrong, but the big thing for me is, like, you've got a ceiling of 78, and the majority of the time you're averaging out to the low 70s, upper 60s. Maybe that might be a decent vet signing, seeing that we still got a couple of roster spots for corners, even with Ja on this roster. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, even look at, if you were to say, like, hey, his last 2 years he fell off, quote unquote. That's a pretty good tackling grade. That's a real good run defense grade this last year. You know what I mean? I mean, it was shocking. I don't know about you, Clay, but last year when I watched the Packers defense, and I watching them actually be able to stop the run in spells was just like, I don't even know what I'm watching right now. Like, what is my cat doing? All right. Well, and I was shocked. I mean, there were certain times where I'm like, oh, they're going to get the first down. It's 3rd and 3. It's a gimme, and you watch them kind of, and that's, again, one thing I will say is that, like, I didn't understand the TJ Slayton hate. I've always loved the guy a lot. Like, I feel like he had his best year last year, and a lot of people say that he had his worst year last year, but just whatever.
That's an outright lie. Yep. That's an outright lie that was his worst. That was his best year, hands down. Like, when he was on the field, he was making plays. Like, he just had limited snaps. I didn't mean to cut you off, but I couldn't agree more there, man.
No, I've heard it from other people I respect very much. And I completely disagree. I just thought that he was a difference maker. Didn't he go off and he just got a contract, right? He got signed.
I want to say $7.5 million, I believe.
I believe that's correct. I thought it was 15 over 2. So yeah, anyways, if this guy could come in and be one of those, I mean, geez, look at that run defense grade. It's fluctuated a little bit, but it's pretty consistently in the high 70s, and you peak into the 80s quite a bit.
Tackle grade
as well, and hell, even that coverage grade every now and then he comes on dipping in there. So it's like, all right, I see you. And he's not the oldest guy in the league, so
right.
I'd be cool with taking a little shot.
You could get him to next to nothing for a year or two, you know?
Yeah.
And I will say this, man, like if you remove his worst year of 2020, right? And we all know everybody was all the heck in 2020. My gosh.
Yep.
Like everything going on. You remove that grade, you look at that and go, that's a pretty solid player, you know?
Yeah.
That 52 is the only thing that makes it look so bad, really. Josh Martin with the super chat. Appreciate you, pal. He said, some people hate Goot signings. Brandon Beane signed 2 players that are suspended 6 games for PED. I don't mean to laugh there. The worst part is he knew one was suspended before signing him. Imagine the fans' reaction if Goot did it. That's a great point, Josh. Could you imagine, Jacob, if Goody signed a couple players and they had a 6-game suspension? Oh, my God. He would get raked over the freaking coals. We know he would. So I completely agree with that, Josh. Appreciate the super chat, pal. And I did see that kind of come down the wire, and then Brandon Beane was like, yeah, I know. I'm like, boy, he's hanging them out there. He ain't playing no games. So thank you for the super chat. Two-Tone said that's the politics. They don't want first-round picks not playing at all. It looks bad on Goody. That's a great point. And listen, as a general manager, I can understand that. You know what I'm saying? Like, your scouting staff put all this time and all this energy into drafting this class, and you said that's our top choice. That's the dude we want. And then he struggles for a few games and he doesn't get to play. I can see how you'd be like, look, you got to let him play through it. So that's all I'm saying. I understand both sides of the argument, but when you get someone like Savage, that's where I agree with you, Two-Tone. Like,
Bro.
Savage should not have been on the field.
I believe Savage went over to Jacksonville, I think it was, and he is booty cheeks there too.
Right,
I mean, just bad. real bad.
And that's where I got to push back a little bit on what SDM40 says here. He said, just think of the mindset the players must have had under Barry's play not to lose mentality. Joe Barry did not have a play not to lose mentality. That's what drunken podcasters ran about when they're pissed off that the defense didn't make a play. And let me just make a quick point here. If Joe Barry was so bad, right, they let him go. Why did we immediately overhaul the safety room? Why did we immediately draft a linebacker to plug and play? You understand what I'm saying? Like, you can't have it both ways. You can't say Joe Barry's bad at his job, and then all of a sudden Jeff Hafley has a top 10 defense, which Joe Barry was hovering around the 12 to 15 spot before you sign Xavier McKinney, before you draft Evan Williams, before you draft Edgerrin Cooper. If you remove those 3 players and you put the players that we had, if you bring back, let me put it this way, Darnell Savage, Jonathan Owens, and Devondre Campbell back in the lineup, Jeff Hafley is not going to have the same results he did last year. Is he an upgrade? Completely agree. But the big thing is soft defense. Guys, they played 5th most single high coverage last year of anybody in the league. That was not Fangio style. Fangio style is middle field open. We played middle field close. He changed his scheme to try to make it easier on these defensive backs, which were absolute cheeks. And Devondre Campbell, how many times did we see him just standing in space last year or the year before, year before? Yeah. Like, it's not as easy as just, man, Joe Barry. If anyone thinks for a second that Joe Barry was going into his meetings going, listen, guys, here's what I want.
Here's what we're going to do. We're going to shit the bed.
We're going to call a cover 3 zone match, okay? And if nobody's in your zone, I just want you to sit right there in that zone. Don't go looking for work. There's not a defensive coordinator on the face of the earth that has 2 brain cells that rub together that's going to teach it that way. Why do you think every time Matt LaFleur went to the podium, right, every time, and they would bring it up about Joe Barry this, Joe Barry that, and he's like, the players got to play better. I remember the Pittsburgh game specifically. Do you think this 2-gap scheme is the problem, this and that? He was like, but we only play 2 gaps when it's 2 backs. And Matt LaFleur said that, and you can see the media go, oh, what's that mean? Like, there's a lot more to it than just Joe Barry's bad at his job. Again, I am much happier with Jeff Hafley, but he didn't go in there with a play to not lose mindset. Fangio's scheme typically is play with 2 on the shelf, keep everything in front of you. But that last year, Joe Barry was trying to mix and match and make anything work. And it worked a couple of times, like you've seen in the Dallas playoff game there where Darnell Savage got the pick, right? It's a lot deeper than that. It's just like how you're hindered. Like last year, we were somewhat hindered with Jeff Hafley's first year in the scheme, right? Like him implementing his scheme. That's why with the pass rush, most of the time it only felt like there was 3 rushers because there were only 3 rushers because you have one touch spine occupying a double team and 3 guys really going after the quarterback. You started trying to sugar and try to manufacture a pass rush while still dropping 7 into coverage, all those things. I'll tell you one thing we did not call out that, to the best of my knowledge, one time last year, Jacob, was cover 9. We called out a ton of cover 6, a ton of cover 2 and Tampa 2, and a bunch of cover 3, right? Cover 9, and let me explain what cover 9 is as opposed to cover 6. When let's say you come out in your nickel 4-2-5 because they're in 11 personnel and they got a 3 wide receiver set. A cover 6 call is on the strong side. So let's say they come out in a trips or a tray set where you got a tight end and 2 wide receivers or 3 wide receivers on one side of the field, and you might be going nub left. The point is 3 targets on one side of the field. In a cover 6, what a cover 6 is half the field's cover 2, half the field's cover 4. The cover 4 side in a cover 6 defense is on the trips or tray side. Well, with a cover 9, what teams typically start to do is they go, okay, when we show trips and tray, they like to go to a cover 6. Let's attack the cover 2 side, whether it's pre-snap motion or let's run a drive concept across that side of the field and open things up over the middle. They're going to be light-handed if the protection holds up, which it did last year because we didn't have the best pass rush, right? He couldn't call cover 9 last year. Well, now you've got all of these veterans coming back, and everybody's got 1 year in the system. I guarantee you, mark my words, every offseason there's something that we talk about that ends up happening. Last year we talked in the offseason about pistol. Guess what happened? Pistol started to become unveiled in Green Bay again. So look for cover 9 next year. Here's what cover 9 is. Cover 6 is a half 2, half 4, what we call, whatever you can call it, double quarter, or you can just call it, a cover 6. Instead of having the quarters on the trips or tray side, what they do is it's somewhat of a sugar. They'll play the cover 2 on that side and bend the cover 4 to the weak side because teams will start to attack you that way. Watch that. That's going to happen this year. Just about guarantee it. It'll happen this year. And you're going to see when you go to cover 9 over cover 6, the numbers game doesn't show that you can play box and triangle that way, out of the Nick Saban playbook. But what will happen is you're going to catch those offenses will come out thinking it's cover 6, at least for the first quarter of the season. They'll drop back and go, what the hell just happened? And I'm telling you, we'll bait them right into a cover 9. It's coming. I can't wait till Chalk Talk because we will have multiple times next year where I'm calling cover 9. I would just about bet the farm on it.
Well, I was actually going to ask, do you think that Hafley, we've talked about how certain coaches and certain, strategies take a while to implement. And do you think that Hafley going into another year where he's like, hey, man, I know what these guys can do. I know their capabilities. Maybe I can tweak my defensive scheme towards their highlighted kind of areas of expertise, if that makes sense, where he's like, I know I can use this guy in this way. I know I can use that guy in this way. I know this guy can't do that when I ask. And then like you talked about, I mean, we mentioned on a few podcasts ago that I personally feel this D-back room that is really strong right now. Mm-hmm. And if Jair happens to stay, it's even stronger than I even really imagined. If he does indeed leave, then I think we have to actually maybe make more of a priority in the draft to kind of fill that void, obviously. But even if that's the case, I still have a lot of confidence in this team. And it's kind of one of those things where I think Jair maybe is looking at the market, looking at what Green Bay has to offer. And he's like, man, all things being considered, I think that maybe he just might want to stay and play is what I'm hopefully. I think that's what's going to happen.
Yeah, because he may look up and go, okay, here's the 3 teams that I'm most likely to get to. Yeah, I'd love Baltimore? To go to Carolina, but Carolina kind of
6. Yeah.
Baltimore would look good, I would imagine, right? Because they're kind of one of those upper echelon teams. But yeah, and the reason you felt like that about the pass defense, Jake, because that's what it was. Like, here are the numbers, and it's a little bit wonky how it's laid out. Because when the last time I seen this screen grab was through the divisional round. So what they did was had the existing playoff teams at the very top. So you got to really pay attention to the EPA per drop back here in terms of defensive coverages through the divisional round. All right. So the lower the number, the better, right? And according to this chart here from Fantasy, Fantasy Points at @football_insights was one. It's a great follow on Twitter. Go give them a follow. The Packers were negative 0.02 in EPA per dropback. To put that into perspective, they were they were tied for third best in the entire National Football League in EPA per dropback, essentially pass defense from a advanced metric standpoint. So Jacob, yeah, man, if Jair returns and you add Nate Hobbs and they truly see him as an upgrade from what we already had, basically it's you traded Nate Hobbs for Eric, or you traded Eric Stokes for Nate Hobbs is what you did. That's where you're at right now, right? So, and we've proven that Carrington Valentine had a pretty good year, 69, passer rating allowed or what have you. Like this secondary, if Ja's still on the team, just got a little bit better. But if Ja's gone, I think it got a little worse, but not as bad as it could have been if you don't add
Nate Hobbs.
Yeah,
sure.
So.
And correct me if I'm wrong. Did Stokes go to the Raiders?
He did, yeah. It was almost like a trade.
Like literally, man. I swear we got each other's numbers. Oakland, or I keep saying Oakland, Vegas. I can't help it.
I keep saying LA, so we're all over. They've been moved around so much, man. Aaron Timothy in the chat, also known as 2-0 for this. Y'all got too many aliases. And Jacob, you started this. You started.
I know. It's my fault.
He said Zane Anderson's better than Savage, and Savage is real. That's a great point. I truly believe off the little bit of tape we've seen from Zane Anderson, and it's not like, okay, yeah, he can tackle well. When he broke off his coverage, it's a perfect example of what we're talking about. The year before, you had players just sitting in that zone. He had, if I remember correctly, he had that curl flat. It was almost like a Mabel look. They ran a Mabel, cover 3 Mabel. And with Mabel, it's essentially you've got 3 levels of defense in zone coverage along the sideline. You get these teams with a strong quarterback arm, what they'll do is they'll try to attack you at 3 levels along the sideline. Not every quarterback can make that throw as efficient as others. Yep. But it was a Mabel call, and he had no one in the zone. What did he do? He flipped his hips, read the quarterback, went back, picked the pass off. I was like, and he took it from Carrington Valentine. It would have been picked by Carrington Valentine, but it was just like, I never seen Savage do that. I didn't. So I'm on board with you. 2-0 for this, for sure. Philip Rudin chat. Good to see you, buddy. He says, I listen to a lot of Green Bay Packer pods, but I love y'all. Talk real football and have fun with it. This show sucks. Hey, appreciate you. Appreciate you, man. We're blessed as Packer fans. There's a lot of podcasts out there. My favorite is Ryan's PackerNet podcast, and we're a part of his network. He's the one that I listen to for the last, I don't even know how long now. I don't want to exaggerate. It's at least 7 or 8 years I've listened to. I was going to say years. Yeah, and it's every day. And what I respected about him was it was always going to be something of substance. It wasn't going to be what's your favorite hot dog, what's this, that. He would bring analytics, right? He would bring analytics in. He'd also bring his fandom, his passion as a Packer fan. But he did a show every single day. And that's why it's been my favorite. And I try to listen to some national podcasts as well. Another one is I'm trying to think. It used to be the Green 18 podcast.
Yeah.
But now it's called something else. But it's where Spoon is on that one. Tom Silverstein. And I like to hear him talk because I'm telling you guys, he is plugged in with the front office. Typically, when he's talking about something, that's a message being sent from the front office through the media a little bit. And I love Wildy and Tausch. I really have grown. They've grown on me a lot, man. I try to listen to them every single day. So, but yeah, we appreciate the kind words, man. And you're right. This show does suck, though. So, SDM40 says, I don't think players enjoyed lining up 15 yards from the line of scrimmage on 3rd and 5. Didn't happen. Go back and watch the tape. Go back and watch the tape. It's so silly, man. It is so silly hearing people talk like that. Just because a player is not in position to make a tackle at the first down, I'm telling you, the goal was to control explosive plays, and it worked. It worked. This whole idea that they're just playing 15 yards off the ball, go back and watch the Giants game. That's the one I point to all the time. We played bump and run in the slot. Keyshawn got his damn lunch ate, and everybody was like, this defense. That's what you wanted, bump and run man coverage. He
Yep.
got cooked. So many times last year we showed on Chalk Talk us getting our asses kicked in man coverage. And then the second they would play zone, if you're getting beaten man coverage and you're getting beaten zone and you got linebackers sitting in the middle of the field covering absolutely no one, I'm sorry. It's not on the coaches. You're not going to convince me the coaches told him to stand right there and let him get to the first down marker. Hey, you can look at the call over and over and over. When you're in a zone match, it's if and then. It's not, I'm going to stand here with my thumb up my butt and let them get the first down.
No.
It's 3 starters. If you put Evan Williams and you put Xavier McKinney, All-Pro Xavier McKinney, and you put Edgerrin Cooper on that defense last year, it may not be as good as Jeff Hafley, but it'd be a lot better than we had. You can't have 3 non-starter players starting in your defense and expect to get good results. It's just not going to happen. I just wish we wouldn't have waited a full year to do that. But that whole there's so many things I want to say right now, Jacob, because I know who these people listen to right off the bat.
Yep.
Right off the bat. And we'll just leave it at that. Michael Redden says, what you say makes sense. You can see it on film. Playing not to lose is drive and play specific and applies to any coach. Like Coach Lynn, I guarantee if Coach Lynn was in here and he's got, experience coaching DBs and wide receivers, you could look at play after play and go, yeah, that wasn't the call right there. That dude's just kind of hanging around. Aaron in the chat says Hafley's best quality is using a player's ability within the defense rather than bending players' abilities to fit. That's the big difference between Hafley, I think, and Joe Barry.
Yeah.
Joe Barry was like, here's the defense we're going to call. You guys adjust.
You got to do it. Yep.
And they couldn't adjust. Hafley's like, that knucklehead ain't going to do that. Let's try to put him in a position to be more successful here. And it does take more work. I think that Jeff Hafley has a lot more work ethic than Joe Barry. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah. Like you talked about, I think there's different. I've learned this being a manager of multiple different businesses. I used to run restaurants. Now I'm running gyms. It's like there's a difference between being a manager and being a leader. And there's a very big difference between whether you're trying to lead a group of men, like actually high octane, pin your ears back, like the highest athletes in the world, men. You have to have a certain air about you that you can, you know what I'm trying to say? Like you have to understand that like these guys are going to need to be led. And if they're led by somebody that doesn't have that respect or dictate that respect, it's like, you can't expect that whole room to fall down. And like you said, I don't blame it all on Joe Barry. Trust me, I am not a Joe Barry fan. I'm not going to go out there and say that I'm going on a limb for Joe Barry. I'm just saying that Jeff Hafley is a guy that went in there and what's the quote from Lombardi where if you win the hearts of men, isn't that roughly? Yeah, I think Jeff went in there and said, you know what, I'm going to win this locker room over. And I'm going to make these guys play for not just me, but for this organization, for themselves. I'm going to light a fire under their butts, and it's going to actually make them be better men, better players. Better, I think that that's a very underrated thing as being a leader versus being a manager.
No, absolutely. And, as much as I hate the Detroit Lions, that's what Dan Campbell has done.
That literally was going to bring up Dan Campbell. And it's
that training camp talk that they had from Hard Knocks where he said, he was almost emotional.
You got to trust me. You got to trust me.
I wish we didn't have to do this. If we didn't have to do this, I wouldn't have you out here doing it. Like, you guys have got to trust me that this is going to get us where we need to be. And they bought in. Joe Barry didn't have that. Joe Barry was more of a, all right, guys, here's what we need to do. Let's get it done. You didn't do it that time, bud. Let's get quicker.
Yep.
Jeff Hafley, you can tell too, man, right off the bat, he came in and tried to win their hearts. And it's huge, man. People don't care what you know till they know that you care. If you're not going to invest the time into letting them know, hey, look, I'm truly trying to help you advance your career. I'm truly trying to help, what's best for you. Tell you another person who's real good at it that many people wanted fired was Rich Bisaccia. Rich Bisaccia, how many damn players are going to sign on this team and go, he's the reason I'm here? Man, I love Coach Rich. Love him. Like, it matters. It does freaking matter. His value is in the assistant.
Incalculable. That's like I've talked about this. Like PFF has a grade for your run blocking and for your pass blocking and for this. There is no like this dude makes the locker room work.
Right.
Score. You know what I mean? If they had that, Bisaccia, I almost guarantee would be 100. Like he would be an elite person. We've seen it now with how many players where they're like, I don't care whether or not I play well or if I go to the right position. It's like this guy inspires me to be a better man. Like
Right.
that's the kind of person that you want to find in your locker room. I think that's why. And we, dude, don't get me wrong. I have ripped on Rich a couple times where it's like, I want
Everybody
more
has
of
at some
I
point.
want more of the special teams. Special teams better be doing good. And then I look back and I'm like, this guy's actually influencing like our starting cornerbacks, our starting defense. He's the assistant head coach as well, which people I don't think understand that he's not just a special teams wizard, which, I would argue that, yeah, probably he hasn't, our special teams aren't where I'd like them to be necessarily. But as far as what Rich brings to the overall group, overall team, overall like vibe, I think that's incalculable. I really do. Like there's no PFF grade for being like, hey, are you a team guy? I don't know how you put a price on that or a tag on that.
Right. Blake B says, just open a Portillo's near me. I think I'm going to get a Chicago dog from there. Hey, Chicago dogs are that's one of Mandy's favorite hot dogs. Like I'm more of a kind of a classic ballpark type, mustard and onions with a cold beer type guy. Mandy loves the Chicago dogs where it's got the little pepper on it and the little finely sliced tomatoes and this and that. Chicago dogs are good though, no doubt. Godsmack AR69 with the super chat. Thank you so much, buddy. We appreciate you. He says, looks like we'll have a good squad next year, but edge is a major concern for me. Hopefully Gary can return to form and LVN can get his head out of his rear. Please talk me away from the ledge, Clayton. Yeah, listen, we don't know about LVN yet. I'm not going to sit here and say LVN's going to be a stud. It gives me hope kind of looking at Trey Hendrickson's career arc and how that unfolded. One thing I'll say about LVN, crazy work ethic, and he's a physical freak, right? He's got to develop a multitude of pass rush moves, which you've seen. I seen 3 different ones last year. I can't remember them specifically, but I do remember us talking about on a Chalk Talk going, I think that's the 3rd move I've seen. As he develops moves and counter moves, he's going to get better, but you've also got to look at, if you want me to truly talk you off the ledge, this is my honest opinion here. Well, you've got to look at what the scheme is calling for. Like, what was the scheme on any individual play, and then you judge the rep based off of what his responsibility was there. Like there was many times that you've seen LVN get an ET stunt. The other problem with LVN is he's not on the field a whole lot. That's not an LVN thing. That's a Matt LaFleur and Jeff Hafley thing, right? They've made the decision. They want a heavy rotation on the pass rushers and specifically the edge defenders. So it's hard for you to set up a move and a counter move and another counter move if you're not in there consistently with reps. But running that ET stunt is going to take your ability away from just an ISO pass rush, right? Rashawn Gary getting chipped a lot last year, right? Well, what did they start doing? They started running ETs on his side, right? They would double team Kenny Clark just about every time, but it wasn't like a team was going, all right, let's double Kenny. It was almost like Jeff Hafley expected a double team for Kenny, so he put him in the A gap and made him play one tech the majority of the year while they let Devontae Wyatt and Carl Brooks and these other guys play the 3 and the 4I. And when they would do that, Kenny would occupy that double team and just kind of play a little touch spot, make sure the quarterback ain't scrambling, protect against the run. And you've seen a huge, huge difference in the run defense. Here's the point here's how I'm going to talk you off the ledge, Godsmack. Look at the run defense improvement last year. Now, look at how much they improved. I think they were tied for 2nd or 3rd in the league in yards per carry allowed, if I remember correctly. Now, go back and watch all our Chalk Talk segments. If you'll go watch our Chalk Talks from last year, every one of them are archived on YouTube. To the best of my knowledge, they're still up. Go back and watch them and see how many times we point out, yeah, that's not a true 4-man rush there. And the guys that are rushing, you're not even seeing them pin their ears and go. You could tell Hafley had a controlled pass rush, and they would try to sugar with the double mug, what we call double barrel sugar, where they would mug the A gap with 2 backers. And then how many times, Jacob, did we say on Chalk Talk last year, 55 drop, because Kingsley and Igbari was dropping into coverage, right? And what you were doing was you were showing a 5- and 6-man rush, but you were dropping one of the edges into pass coverage. So, listen, they weren't a great pass rush. Don't get me wrong, Godsmack. Anybody with 2 brain cells that rub together know that pass rush wasn't great, especially from the edge. But also you got to look at the specific play call on those pass rushes. Now, with that being said, Gary ended up with like a 13% pressure rate, right? That's significantly lower than what his career average is, to the best of my knowledge. LVN finished at like 11.3%. If I remember correctly, and you guys fact check me, according to Next Gen Stats, which is what I follow, NFL Pro, as opposed to just, well, I hope PFF got it right. They ain't going to tell us what the play was that they just graded or just show the pressure on. NFL Pro, you can click on the pressures and watch every single pressure, right? According to them, LVN had a higher pressure rate than TJ Watt last year. Now, people are going to go, whoa, Clayton, whoa. You're not saying that he's better than TJ Watt. Absolutely not. What I'm saying is he wasn't as bad as people think. And with that being said, too, with our draft board, I'm going to rattle off a couple names. I don't look at the edge defenders and go, man, this is a big problem. Why? Look at the EPA per dropback we just showed you. They're top 5, right? Look at the run defense. We were like 3rd in yards per carry allowed. I don't look at that defense and go, man, the pass rush is a problem. I just don't see it that way. I'm not going to name the podcaster or what radio station he's on live. But last year when I heard all the Rashawn Gary slander, and this guy said, go back and watch the tape. He couldn't even beat the tight end the tight end blocked him. A tight end is blocking him by himself. And I immediately knew the specific play because I'd already watched every snap 3 times from that game. He was playing a touch spy. He literally, an ET stunt, the tight end stayed with him, and you could see Gary just kind of watching the A-gap, making sure the quarterback didn't scramble up. It was designed to go like that. People don't know what they're watching. And that's okay if you want a fan like that and they want to be lazy and not really pay attention to what's actually going on. That's cool. But, man, I can't sit back and hear you talk crap about an athlete and you don't even understand what his play call was.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying? Like, that's just – it's tough for me to keep my mouth shut there. But
do you think I'd honestly – it'd be a fun little project if we had maybe guys in the chat or whatever. I'd love to do a cross stream with some of these people that say like, hey, this guy fell off. Or, the study of this guy should be studied how he fell off, like all that kind of. Let's throw the tape on. I'll be real quiet. You can talk, Clayton. I
had a run-in on Twitter, and you know who this is, Jacob.
Oh, no.
When I first got on Twitter and I first started podcasting, I seen this dude talking down to a fan, and this fan was just asking a question, or he didn't ask a question, but he disagreed with the comment, and I don't even want to say the comment because you'll know who it is. Anyway, he basically said, you don't know what you're talking about. I invited him. I was like, let's get on a live stream, Hoss. I can't wait to test your football knowledge since you want to talk down to fans. Like, that stuff drives me insane. Because everybody's at different levels in understanding. I'm still a knucklehead at understanding, but at least I'm trying to find the answer. When you don't try to find the answer and you just put out clip after clip and short after short of these – of you ranting so you can get views and clicks, that's cool. I'm not gonna participate. And I've unsubbed to a lot of that stuff. And I really try to zero in my coverage to, I like Wildy and Tausch because Wildy does a good job trying to grab the story, trying to grab the emotion, the player's side, that type of thing is what I feel like he does really well. You get Tauscher's inside. He's a former player. And you get Brian Bulaga, who's a former player. That's the type of stuff I like to listen to as opposed to the shot jock stuff. But thank you for the super chat there, guys. Smack, appreciate you, buddy.
Yeah.
See, Aaron here says it's like a burrito bowl, but instead it's a bunch of chopped up hot dogs. It's from the show Detroiters. I don't know why, but Tim Robinson is obsessed with hot dogs. What the hell am I looking at here?
Yeah, it's
I'm hoping you know what this means.
I do know what this means. Tim Robinson is one of the, in my opinion, he's hilarious. You either love him or you hate him. He has one of the weirdest comedic deliveries of all time. The United States, Tim Robinson is it is a either, like I said, you either love him or hate him. I think he's hilarious because it's just nonsense, but he will make some absolutely.
Oh, I know exactly what you're talking about now.
He's the zipline guy. Remember I told Emilio about the zipline guy?
He is hilarious.
It's too much.
You sure about that?
Yeah, you sure about that?
That's not why.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
It's some of it's 5 burgers, 5 fries, 5 shakes. He's a little too much, but he's honestly hilarious. So anyways.
Oh man. But yeah, back to Godsmack's comment. I want to say this, Godsmack. I don't see edge as the top. Like, man, we got to fix that. I just don't see it that way. Based off how we rushed the quarterback last year, the schematic approach. What I do see is we can really, really, really benefit from a 3-tech, a dominant
Interior.
3-tech, right?
Yeah.
With that being said, if when the Packers are on the board at 23, if these players are on the board at edge, actually there's one player that I would get really excited about, and that would be well, there's a couple that's unrealistic. Abdul Carter is going to be long gone, right?
Yeah.
I would love him at the 23 pick, obviously. James Pierce Jr. out of Tennessee. If he's sitting there at 23, I'd be totally on board with us drafting him at the edge position. And now you light a fire under LVN and Rashawn Gary, and you got that heavy hockey rotation anyway, right? The hockey line rotation. Shamar Stewart is sitting in the 13 spot. I personally am not as big on him, but based on the board, which is what I've got to trust here, Daniel Jeremiah has him at 27. The 33rd team has him at 16. Dane Brugler had him at 9, and he scored a 10 RAS. And listen, at some point, I got to lower my ego and go, maybe that is the dude.
Right.
Me personally, I don't like the high RAS. To me, he feels like another LVN.
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
this guy's going to be
Or a Quay.
exactly like a ball of clay that we're going to take a couple years. Well, no, I'm done with that.
Can I ask, where do you have Ashton Genty, the Louisville edge? He just keeps coming up on my radar. Same with Jared Ivey.
You talking about Ashton Gillot? Is that how you say his name?
Gillot. I don't know how that's pronounced last. I've never heard it.
Let me put my board on put the draft board on the screen here so we can kind of follow along. So we've got Ashton Gillot, I guess is how you say his name. He's in the 62 spot for us. So that would be someone around. I'm trying to see what the pick would be. It would be in between, like,
early third.
To me, it would be a reach at 54, but it would be a steal at 87. So he's kind of in that in between. Now, listen, that's just our board. Goody may have him as the 30th best prospect, right? Drew D says he thinks he's underrated. There you go. So, that's just how our board sees him. And the reason he's in that spot for us, he finished with a 57.1 grade. Remember the low number wins. PFF 22, his PFF grade, he was 280th at his position. Then he jumped all the way to 29th, climbed on up to 26th this past year. PFF Big Board had him at 40. The consensus Big Board had him at 86 at the end of the college football.
That seems kind of low, isn't it? Like for him performing that consistently.
And here's the thing: you go to PFF Big Board now, it's probably different. But I'm not going to change. I wanted the numbers
right away,
immediately following the college football season. Here's what people thought, rather than did a good interview. I like him here. Yeah, this team likes him. Let's boost them up our board. I personally, this is a very, very, very college football production centered draft board, if that makes sense. These are the people that were really buzzing at the end of the year. Dane Brugler had him at 71 here recently. So that made me feel a lot better seeing that, the PFF Big Board had him at 40. We've got him at 62, but Dane Brugler having him at 71 kind of balances us out there. And we don't know what Daniel Jeremiah thinks yet. When we get his full top 150, we'll have a better idea of where he's going to fall on the board. But, I would be totally on board with a third-round pick. And it might be something too, Jacob, that we end up trading back at some point early in the draft, or we end up trading up and putting us right in that sweet spot. So could be a dude. Here's the thing, though. Like when you look at our edge defensive room, to me it feels like you either take one at 23 that's going to compete for starting reps, or you don't take one at all. Because, like, if you took one in the third or fourth round, you're not going to play him over LVN. He's probably not going to be able to be out your boy Brenton Cox.
You're not stealing anything from Cox.
That's what I'm saying. Like, if I looked at someone in a third or a fourth round at the edge position, I'd be going, I would rather have Brenton Cox Jr. out there at the 13.8% pressure rate, whatever it was, right? Yeah. That's why I mentioned those early ones. And again, another one that we didn't get to. Cancel that out there. The other one is, like I said, James Pierce Jr. We talked about him. We talked about Shamar Stewart, but there was one more. Mike Green's another one. Mike Green at 18. Fred says no Cox blockers, please. Look, you got Michael Williams or Mikel Williams, however you say it, out of Georgia. That's another one in the 19 spot. I'd be okay with that. AR-6'9". You know what I mean? Like there's some edge defenders that if the board falls just right, I would not have a problem with it. And I think there's precedent for Goody taking an edge defender in the first round. There's no doubt. I just hope he goes more along the lines of we've seen a lot of production in college as opposed to this guy's an athletic freak. And that's where Shamar Stewart scares me. So
Yep, exactly. I just I completely agree. When you look at some of these guys, like that's why I'm kind of beating the table now for Derek Harmon. I mean, that guy just produced in college. Sack numbers, hurries, hits, and like isn't it I believe that one of your theories is like a guy that if he has 8 sacks, cool, but if he has like 40 hurries or rushes or you know what I'm saying? Like
Mhm.
that's more I want to see a guy that infects the play as much as he can. If he can be a person that has his thumb on the scale for every single play, where the point where like they cannot complete the plan that they want to execute, it's like, yeah, I want that guy. I don't care if he finishes with a sack, like it'd be great, obviously, but I'd rather just have a guy that consistently is a tornado, just a Tasmanian devil in there.
Right. No, I got you, man. J. Cole in the chat says, as much as I want Higgins, I'm assuming he's talking about Jaden Higgins. So this is Tim. Tim is in the chat tonight. He's signed in as J. Cole this evening. I'm wondering if Goot would take a wide receiver early. Yeah, for me, the thing about Higgins, we got him in the 52 spot. So to me, that feels like a second round pick. You know, I don't think he would warrant a first round pick. And, you know, precedent would suggest we're not going to take a wide receiver in the first round. I mean, how long has it been? Javon Walker was the last one, right? That was in my early days of becoming a Packer fan too. But so, you know, if you're not going to take one in the first round, Jaden Higgins is one of those guys that's going to fall right in that sweet spot. Like we got Trey Amos in the 45 spot. If he falls into that second round pick, and I'm trying to remember what it was again, 54, right? He would be a beautiful pick at 54 for a wide receiver, right? And he's a big body receiver, someone who could play boundary X, could probably mix in a little Z as well. He look RAS through the roof. Goody loves those RASs, right? Same thing with Jaden Higgins. He scored a 9+. So those are two receivers that if we're going to try to, I don't want to say replace Christian Watson, but try to hold down the fort with a big body receiver, and you're going to draft one early. The only person I would see from a big body receiver standpoint in the first round would be Tet McMillan. I think he'll be gone by the time we pick at 23 because we've got him in the number 7 spot. But another guy here too that I think a lot of people aren't talking about, or not enough people are talking about, is God, where's he at? Out of Texas, our boy Matthew Golden. You know, he is very versatile, and we've got him in the 38 spot. But I see some people say that they like him over Tet McMillan. And guess what, Jacob? Packers met with him. So Matthew Golden, to me, it looks like the Packers would either be willing to take him at 23 or they're hoping he falls to 54 in the second round. But what do you think about receiver, man? How do you – I don't want you to try to predict how you think it's going to play out. I don't think any of us can do that. But what would you like to see happen at the receiver position in the draft?
I'm not the biggest fan of Matthew Golden. I'm not a fan of I think the drop rate was what concerned me with him. I looked at other guys around his speed and stature that I just thought we could probably do better. But you know, I actually like, again, I've been more excited on like Isaac Tesla, Royals, Noel.
So a little later, right?
Pat Bryant. I mean, yeah, I don't have a problem if we were to take Jaden right away. I'd be completely cool with it. That's not my issue. My issue is more of stretching more for like one of those guys, like even Eric, is it Elick or Eric Aymanyor or whatever from Stanford?
Mm-hmm.
Like I know there's a lot of talent in this draft. I'm just trying to figure out if it's worth it to pick a receiver in a certain spot where we could definitely need like a 3-tech or a linebacker or a cornerback or an interior defensive line or something, you know, along those lines. I just, as much as I love Trey Harris personally, I like Jack Besh. I love guys. I've kind of let Tet go out of my capability of even processing if we get there.
Because we did that exercise, right? And we have
I love it. It's like 7 or 8 teams where it's like I can see that happening.
Yeah.
You know, it's same with the Mecca. You know, I never have let myself kind of even be entertained with the fact that he could get there. You know, and yeah, so here's another great example. I don't think Luther's gonna hit us. I honestly don't think Matthew Golden will probably even. Yeah, maybe he would. Maybe Matthew would probably be down that tweener area, but I would much rather have Jaden Higgins. I'd much rather have Trey Harris. I'd much rather
Harris really pops, don't he?
Jack Besh. Trey Harris is a beast, bro. Look at that right there. There's nothing wrong with what he does on the field.
If you look at this entire chart and you go, okay, who is the one who doesn't really have a downside? It doesn't mean he's perfect, but like it's Trey Harris. Next to him would probably be, if I had to guess, just looking at the chart, first glance, it kind of feels like Egbuka. Egbuka's pretty close. Obviously, Ted McMillan, he's pretty close.
Yeah.
Travis Hunter, of course, right? Travis Hunter ain't nothing he can't do. Jaden Higgins don't look that bad either. Like there's not as much green, but there's definitely not as much red. Like there's no red on the board, maybe a little light pink.
Yep.
So, and when you look at our board and how we've got these guys ranked, again, this is not where they're ranked on our board. This is just the order in which our wide receivers are ranked. So this is all the wide receivers in the upcoming draft according to our board right now. Ted McMillan 1. We've got Emeka Egbuka 2, Luther Burden 3, Matthew Golden 4, Trey Harris 5, Jaden Higgins 6, Xavier Restrepo 7, Jalen Royals 8, Alec Anyamanor after him. Then we got Jack Besh, Tez Johnson. So what's the big thing that sticks out here, Jacob? Look at the 3 receivers that the Packers have met with so far. Matthew Golden out of Texas, right? You've got Jaden Higgins out of Iowa State, and you got Jalen Royals out of Utah State. Those are the 3 that the Packers have met with so far. And then you throw in Jalen Noel, who's going to be a later round guy. If you look at our overall score, typically you can go off this number and go, they're probably worthy of around that pick, whatever their grade is, right?
Yeah.
So a 39 for Matthew Golden seems like a reach for 23, but if he falls to 54, run the card up there. Jaden Higgins right there in that ballpark for 54. And then, of course, Jalen Royals kind of seems like 54 would be a reach, but if he lasts to the 3rd round, you'd be okay.
Yeah, who I really like on this list that a lot of people aren't talking about is Torrey Horton, wide receiver from Colorado State. I believe he's 6'3", big body receiver, played boundary most of his career, really possession type guy who has like unlimited not the best athletic traits, but he's like a really good, strong possession receiver. Somebody here Clint, receiver from Tennessee, 6'5" and fast. If I'm not mistaken, that's Deontay Thornton Jr., right? And where do you have him?
We've got him significantly lower, man. And let me explain why, okay? First of all, Daniel Jeremiah does not have him in his top 50. 33rd team did not have him in the top 150. And Dane Brugler did not have him in his top 100. As of right now, okay, and we'll get those numbers updated as we go along. So we have nothing to go off of there. He scored a 9+ in RAS, which he's a freak. We talked about that with the 40 and the size and all that stuff. So his PFF grades starting in 2022, these are positional rankings. 490th, then he climbed just a touch to 483, then he jumped all the way to 58th. Big jump. PFF Big Board at the end of the college football season had him at 220. And the consensus big board had him at 306. Those have probably changed since then. But again, I'm going to keep our numbers in, and you can look at our board and go, okay, it's more of a safe approach, and then look at the consensus big board or the PFF big board as they update it and go along and go, okay, well, here's more of the ceiling of where this guy may or may not go. So yeah, Deontay Thornton or Dante Thornton, however you say his name, from Tennessee, man, he's a freak. There's no doubt about that. Yeah. It's just where did he line up on our chart here? Did we see him? He was at the very bottom, wasn't he, if I remember correctly? Yeah.
Oh, he's way down there. Well, yeah he does.
But see, the big thing was yards per game, right? Only 33.9, and his yards per team pass attempt was only 1.1. That kind of removes you a little bit.
He's blowing up on the other metrics, though. Like it's like when he's in, he's great. He just wasn't in.
And it feels like he wasn't a big part of the game plan, but when he got his opportunities, he made pretty well with it, right? So, and it looks like he was out wide 73% of the time, but he did get 27% of the snaps in the slot. Well, I bet they were doing some crack blocking there. That big old guy. No doubt about that. So,
I mean, dude, when I look at this, one guy that we have not talked about a lot is Tez Johnson. Is there any hope? Wasn't he very small? I believe, if I'm not, I haven't looked him up right now.
Very small human being,
tiny man.
Little tiny guy, but we've got him. Let's see, where's he at on our receiver board here? We've got him 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. He's 11th best receiver on our board. We got him with a 76.8 grade, so you'd probably be looking at 3rd round pick. He'd be worth it somewhere in that range right there. So. Okay. Godsmack with the super chat. Thank you, buddy. Says, thank you, Clayton, for easing my concerns. You're definitely better than those, quote, experts on ESPN. In your opinion, who is our best defensive tackle? And that's a great question. Here's the thing. With Kenny, I've got to remove the ego and go, there's a reason that Goody is paying him all that money. I can watch the tape and go, yeah, not impressed. I can look at the PFF grades like everybody else and go, oh, those are horrible numbers, right? But typically, when you get someone, they're willing to pay that much money for a defensive tackle, you've really got to step back and go, okay, what am I missing here? Last year, we truly thought they would put him in a 3-tech and let him pin his ears back and go. We did not do that last year. So when I look at the tape from last year with Kenny, you've seen a lot of touch spine, and you've seen a lot of double teams and him just kind of holding his gap, that type of thing. Devontae Wyatt, hands down, is our best pass rushing interior defensive lineman. There's no two ways about it. Run defense, little sus, right? Carl Brooks, I think, is a solid player. He didn't take the jump that I expected him to last year. As a matter of fact, it kind of feels like he was a better fit in Joe Barry's scheme than Jeff Hafley's, just based off of the numbers, the production, and the grades. If you made me choose right now who's our best defensive tackle on the roster today, it's Devontae Wyatt. And again, that's why I feel like we need to go out and get another 3-tech for the future. I'm not sold on Devontae Wyatt being that dude that can anchor our defense at the 3-tech. Kenny, again, he was occupying a lot of double teams last year in that 1-tech. But when you pay somebody that much money, man, you got to – like, I felt like Kenny Clark should have paid Rashawn Gary a good chunk of change last year because he kept the heat on him. And what's crazy is Rashawn Gary led the team in pressure rate, he led the team in sacks, and he led the defensive line in run stop percentage. Like, he did everything better than anybody else on the defensive line, and people were screaming that he's overrated, he ain't worth the money, blah, 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 blah. And Kenny Clark, I was just sitting back going, nobody's saying a damn thing about Kenny, and he ain't done nothing. 6% pressure rate, right? TJ Slayton had an 8% pressure rate. Now he's gone, obviously. So yeah, my answer to that would be Devontae Wyatt. What would be your answer there, Jake? All of the defensive tackles on the roster, who do you think is the better defensive tackle?
Oof, it's kind of a tough thing to actually accept that if it's between Devontae and Kenny Clark, that's not good.
It ain't good at all.
It's not good. And I think that we just highlighted that maybe there's a glaring need to this. I like what Holmes said, Harmon from the Ducks. I am a big Derek Harmon fan. I don't know, dude. I just think we got a definite glaring need right now in the interior defensive line room. And, I was a little critical of Rashawn, but again, Rashawn is kind of a product of being such a weird case where in Michigan, they didn't let him be a freak. They were like, set the edge, just do that. Just be a team player. He's like, yes, sir, I'll do that. Probably drastically limited his draft stock and all that kind of stuff. He comes to Green Bay and they're like, hey man, don't be a freak. Don't be a freak. Just do what we're telling you to do. And he's like, okay, I'll do it. And now it's finally like, all right, maybe pin your ear back. I just want him to unlock his potential in a way that actually like really gets to the point of what he can do. And at this point, I still am a little bit, I will say that's probably one of the largest gripes I have with the front office of Green Bay is like, if you draft a guy that high, you put him in a position that isn't what he excels at. Why are you doing that? What are we gaining from this? You think that he can do something really great? And I'll also say it's like you talked about when I don't want to draft off of RAS anymore, dude. I don't want to do this anymore. I want to find good football players that play football. I don't care if they're I think the biggest comparison is that guy, Willie Lemkin, I believe is his name. Mm-hmm. He's the right guard from Duke or whatever. He's like 5'10", 300 pounds. No reason to be in the NFL, but he's graded out like in the 80s and 90s every single time for like thousands of snaps. He's just
sign him up.
Sign him up. Give me Willie Lemkin, bro. Give me the Oompa Loompa. I want the bowling ball on my team. The guy can bowl. Let's go.
Unbelievable. Since AR brung up defensive tackles, here's our draft board for defensive tackles. All right. So you see a lot of cheese, don't you?
Yeah.
Telling you guys, I think we called this one. I think if Goody had his way, he's looking to take a 3-tech, that 23rd pick. Kenneth Grant, well, in order, Mason Graham, he'll be long gone. Kenneth Grant, Packers met with. Walter Nolan, the Packers met with. Derek Harmon, they have not met with yet. But Derek
Surprised.
Harmon is, in my opinion, the fourth best defensive tackle in this draft. And he is significantly higher than the next tier that starts with Tyleik Williams. Look at the grade, 27.7 for Harmon, 39.4 for Tyleik Williams. So you really want to try to get one of these three guys if you're picking at 23 for a defensive tackle, right? Another
really
one
like Collins. What do you think about Collins?
about who?
Alfred Collins.
Alfred Collins. Collins. Okay,
Yeah.
I thought you were saying Holmes. I was going, who the hell's Holmes? I don't
No.
know. Yeah, Alfred Collins they met with too. We've got a 45.7 on him, so I would think that would, I would rather them try to get him maybe in the second round, and they may be looking at it like this. Like, think of it this way. I know Goody's board doesn't look like ours, but let's pretend like it does for a second. If he met with Kenneth Grant and Walter Nolan, right, and these aren't top 30 visits, we'll get a better picture when we get those in the bank. If he met with those two guys, don't it feel like he's trying to figure out which one of those two he'd like to take at 23?
Yeah,
right.
It does.
Now,
yeah.
If they're both gone when you pick at 23, don't it kind of feel like they're in the 50s? If Alfred Collins hanging around, you might take him, right? And then Aeneas Peebles and C.J. West, if for some reason Collins is gone, maybe you try in the third or fourth round for one of those two guys. You see what I'm saying? Like, the board will talk to you if you've got enough information in it. It'll really kind of show you a roadmap of what the GM may or may not be thinking. Now, you got to take into consideration, too, when we do the top 30 visits, it has been proven that some GMs in the past would waste top 30 visits on smoke screens, trying to make people think they're interested in someone when they're not. I try not to even think of the board that way. Like, if it's a top 30 visit, I want to take to the bank, all right, I think they're truly interested in them, because it's valuable time. But when former GMs like Michael Lombardi said, yeah, we used to do that, it's like, okay, that's a real thing. It's got to be a real thing, right? So, yeah, but here's what's crazy. Who was it that brought up Harmon? You remember in the chat? Who was that? Was it A-Hard? I thought somebody brought up Harmon. I could be wrong. There you go.
J. Cole.
All right. So check this out, man. On the consensus mock draft, so here's how it works with the mock draft database website. They've been doing mock drafts all year long, right, for this specific draft. You can go to any past year and look at them as well. So you can go all time, the last 2 months, the last month, last 2 weeks, and the last week. So the most recent mock draft database, all the mock drafts that's being compiled. And let me give you an example. Like, one of the people that does mock drafts for the Green Bay Packers on these sites is Jacob Westendorf, right? I think is he with Packer Wire? I can't remember. I apologize. I can't remember who he's with. Actually, I think I got one of his mocks right here. SI. So he's with Sports Illustrated. So they get people that cover specific teams to do the mock drafts, and they put them in the database. So here you go. Here's the average in the last week of who the Packers took. Guess who it is?
Let's go.
12%, Derek Harmon. J. Cole, you might be on something there, man. Might be on something. So Jacob Westendorf was all over Harmon, D-Harmony. DHarmony.com. Hey, listen, you don't have to be lonely at farmersonly.com. You ever heard that ad? I didn't know if that
Bro,
was
they're so bad. It's
yeah.
With the little dog, they got the
Oh yeah. I met my future wife out here in the hayfield. I tell you. Anyway, so Derek Harmon, it's funny you mentioned that, Jay. That's the most recent mock draft. Now, if we were to go all time, let's see what all time was. Okay. Well, actually, let's go 2 weeks and then we'll go all time. So in the last 2 weeks, that pick has been Jahdae Barron. Now, if we go back to our board, I'm not going to put it on the screen, but I'll tell you guys where we got Jahdae at. We've got Derek Harmon, like we just said. We've got him in the 25 spot. That's perfectly within reach for the Packers to take him at 23. That matches up with our board. Now, Jahdae Barron, we got in the 17 spot. Now, again, I see a defensive tackle, a 3-tech as tier 1, and I don't have a corner even at tier 2 in terms of importance of positions. So Jahdae Barron's value is so much higher on our board. As a matter of fact, it's 27.7 for Harmon, and it's a 20.7. So he's one full tier above. That checks out. I'm getting damn proud of this board, man, because I'm telling you, all the information that drops, it's like board checks out. So Jahdae Barron is one that you keep your eye on as well. And the mock draft popularity was significantly higher. I think Derek Harmon's was at 12%. Jahdae Barron's at 23%. So take that as you will. Let's go back now 1 month. So over the last month, right, the last 30 days, I'm assuming, it was Jahdae Barron at 20%.
Again.
See?
Oof,
so
I would be so butthurt if we get Barron and then all of a sudden the Vikes get Harmon.
Derek
I would
Harmon, that
not
would
want that.
suck, right? I'd be even more pissed off just seeing Josh Simmons go 2 picks later because Josh Simmons on our board is sitting in the 20 spot. So
He's coming off injury though, right?
I think he is. Yeah. Yeah, that's right. Yep. In 2024, we got a red box on him. I'm going to try to get some clarity, and we'll make a decision, an executive decision on as a group. Hey, should we pull the red box off or not? Do we feel like he's fully healthy or not? You know what I mean? Because
Right.
the whole idea was to go, whoa, wait a minute, he might still be hurt, as opposed to everybody's had injuries at some point, right? So we'll try to play that by ear. Now, if we go all time, let's just go all time. I imagine it's probably Jahdae Barron. Let's see who it is though. Oh, Siobhan Ravel all time.
Wow.
So
Okay.
early on, it was Siobhan Ravel. Now,
Another guy coming off injury, right?
and he was top 10 on our board for a little bit. He's now dropped all the way to 27th because we're getting more and more information in. But here's the contrast there, right? His injury was in 2024, and that's significant because he couldn't perform at the combine, right? So, but Daniel Jeremiah has him at 46, Kyle Krabs has him at 7, and Dane Brugler has him at 32. So,
wow.
I feel like I would not take Siobhan Ravel with the 23rd pick, and the most recent mocks seem to agree with that. Does that make sense? So
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, honestly, if you go back to, you don't have to scroll down, but it looked like 2 picks later, Gray Zabel went, and it's like I'd much rather have Gray Zabel over a Siobhan Ravel Jr. at that point. Like it's same with Jahdae Barron. I don't want to let Barron or Zabel fall to the Vikings or the Texans. Like that to me that's unconscionable. I don't want to do that.
And I seem to be in the minority when it comes to where I see Gray Zabel on the board because there's many mocks that have him going in the first round. I think mainly because of the versatility and people are seeing him as the best center in the draft now after the Senior Bowl performance. We've got him in the 54 spot. So
really?
Yeah, we got him at 54. And here's why. PFF, he dominated. Don't get me wrong. 155th and 22, jumped all the way to 24th, then jumped all the way to 5th. But the PFF big board had him at 39. The consensus big board had him at 74 at the end of the college season. He got a 5-point bonus at the Senior Bowl. So we're taking into account, hey, look, he should jump one full tier because of his Senior Bowl performance. Daniel Jeremiah had him at 48. Kyle Krabs had him at 89, and Dane Brugler had him at 38. So there's no one of our head scouts at the time, now that may have changed now, that would say, yes, he was a first-round pick before all of the Senior Bowl hype and everything. Does that make sense? So, again, that's where our board is more a safe approach as opposed to recent information suggests he is a first-round pick. And that's why, I mean, we're definitely in the minority there with Gray Zabel. That's one thing that the board does not match up with the consensus across the rest of the NFL media, I guess you could say. So I wanted to look at this real quick just for craps and giggles. We've got a couple minutes here. Let's go back to 2024 and just see one week before the draft, what were they predicting the Packers going to take? Amarius Mims was what they were suggesting, right? Offensive tackle. We end up going Jordan Morgan, right? Did Jordan Morgan – see, he went 30 to Baltimore in their mock, right? So it's just interesting to kind of look at that. Now let's go 2 weeks before the draft, I imagine is what that was. It would have been Amarius Mims as well. So they were on him pretty early. I think he ended up going to Dallas, didn't he? Am I thinking right, Jacob? Or was that somebody else?
I'm pretty sure it's Dallas.
I get them all mixed up. Tyler Guyton. So they were thinking offensive tackle.
Or no, Guyton went to Dallas for sure.
That's right. Yeah. So they were all over offensive tackle. They being, just the media and all the mock drafts and everything, right? And then let's go just all time and see what they decide on. It's probably offensive tackle, I'm sure. Not Cooper DeJean.
Of course. Of course.
I love it, bro. 20% of the mock draft popularity said you should have took Cooper DeJean at 25, and boy, they were right, wasn't they? There you go.
Son of
a. Let's see here. Let's just talk.
Can I ask real quick? Because I keep seeing this guy, Thor Griffith. Where do you got him again on your list?
Yeah, I want to say he's significantly lower. Let me double check real quick.
I keep, dude, like if that's the last pick of our draft, somehow we get Thor.
And I want you to explain why here in a second too, and I'll pull the information. I'll read the information off because I'm pretty sure we're on the same page with it. So Thor Griffith, I've gotten the 140 spot. Here's what Jacob's seeing, guys. In 2022, he was the 9th highest graded defensive tackle. In 2023, he was the 9th highest graded defensive tackle. In 2024, he only fell to the 26th graded defensive tackle. But here's what's bringing him down on our board, Jacob. PFF Big Board at the end of the college football season had him at 230, and the consensus Big Board had him at 259. If we remove both of those numbers, we would have him as a legit first-round pick. And that's why those numbers are important, and they have changed since then. I'm sure he's higher on the boards now. But we have no information from Daniel Jeremiah, so he wasn't in his top 50, obviously. 33rd team did not have him in the top 150. And Dane Brugler did not have him, I think, in the top 100, I believe is how far. He may have just went to 52. But regardless, none of them see him as a first or second round pick. And we've got him around the 140 mark. And I'm trying to think, where would 140 be? 140 would be somewhere around in between the fourth and the fifth round pick that we've got. We got in the fourth round, we got pick 124. In the fifth round, we got 159. So,
I mean, I don't get it, dude. He's 6'2", 320, played at Louisville, like playing with good contests. Like you talked about, right now PFF have upgraded it to he was 9th overall in 2022, 9th overall in 2023, 18th overall in 2024, playing significant snaps. I mean, what more can Thor do, bruh? Like he's got a pass rush win rate of 9.9, not the best, but a true pass rush grade of 71.2, run defense grade of 84 flat. I mean, that to me is where I really like. He's actually played A gap a substantial amount of his career, played B gap quite a bit more, but A gap, if you're looking for a guy to go in there and maybe try to be a multi-versatile type of defensive lineman, I love him, man. I love him.
Clint Cosgrove says he has his hammer in the carry-on luggage. There you go. There you go. Judy says he assumed his testing was bad. I don't have an RAS for him. Look, we're getting ready to wrap up. Jacob, what's your parting thoughts here? I'm going to pull up RAS on my side and see if we have any kind of RAS for Thor yet. I don't even know if he performed there.
Parting thoughts would be probably that when we looked, I think a really good practice is a few episodes ago, we looked at our roster, our actual depth chart, and it really did highlight, okay, wow, we need some people in the linebacker room. We need some people in the defensive interior lineman room. We need some people in the backup role for offensive line, basically around the whole spectrum. We need probably a wide receiver. And that's kind of what I felt. I would be okay with taking a tight end if it was one of those kind of flashy guys that fell to us where it's like, you can't not. If a Colson Loveland falls to us, it's like, how do you not take that? But at the same time, there's so many great interior defensive linemen in this draft where I feel like if we don't get one, we need that solid 3 tech. We just do.
Yeah.
And I think that.
Go ahead. You're good. I'm sorry.
No, I think that we could probably come around in the back end of the draft and get a really quality linebacker. Like I think coach just said we need some linebacker depth. Sure, knowing that Wilson's going back to the Vikings. Oh, that made me so mad. Teddy Buchanan is what I'm looking at right around there. Some sort of late round linebacker that has bona fides. But what do you think?
Yeah. So Thor Griffiths, no measurables other than height and weight. He's 6'2". That scored a 3.96. His weight 320 is an 8.85. So we have nothing on him. What we're probably going to need to look into, when is Louisville's pro day? That's what we need. Let's see. Yeah. Let me type this in real quick. Louisville Cardinals pro day. And they may do like a conference thing.
Joel for this says that Jordan Mason just got traded to the Vikings.
Who's Jordan Mason? That sounds really familiar. Who's Jordan Mason?
I believe
running back or offensive line, maybe.
I thought he was offensive lineman, but
so the Louisville Cardinals are going to host. Nope, that ain't it. That's the wrong year, Clayton. Dang it! I hate it when they do that. It was from 2023. Trying to see if they've got their pro day scheduled yet. It's got a bunch of the colleges here. That's Indiana. This is great podcasting here. Where's Louisville?
The Jordan Mason was actually who you're thinking. It was the halfback from San Francisco who got traded over there. Yeah, overall grade last year of a 72.7. That was 26 out of 47 halfbacks. Receiving grade's kind of dookie, but a rushing grade of 76.1. That actually is that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. Louisville, according to this on NFL.com, if this is the proper year or the correct year, they're saying March 25th. Let me get a timestamp. Yep, March 25th is going to be Louisville's pro day. So that's 10. We're 10 days away, unless he's hurt. We should. There you go. Thank you, Jay. I should have just asked Jay.
Just ask the chat, man. Come on.
The chat is unbelievable. It's my favorite thing about the podcast is just being able to fire a question. It's like I've got 1,000 Jamies from the Joe Rogan podcast sitting in the chat.
Right.
Absolutely awesome. And they're all smart asses, which makes it even better. So, but yeah, so I don't know if there's any injury attached to Thor Griffith. I haven't heard anything. Maybe there might be some kind of surgery or something that happened. But if he tests well, though, I'm with you, dude. The PFF checks out. There's no two ways about that. So,
No.
All right, let's see here. Drew D says JT. How do you say that name there? Tuamoloa?
Tuamoloa? Yeah.
Tuamoloa. That sounds right. Good job, Jacob. Let's see where we got him and we'll get out of here. Let's go JT.
I was surprised by
Yeah.
him because it's like I really love who's the opposite guy? Is it Jack Sawyer or Jack Sawyer?
Mm-hmm.
It's like they both are very similar. 6'5", big body guys, around 260. It's like,
Right there's Jack Sawyer right there. We got Jack Sawyer at 42, and we've got JT Tuamoloa at 48. So you got to be careful, right? They played on the same defense, and it's like
right.
was one, unless you really dive into the tape and go, that guy was drawing a lot of double teams, this guy wasn't. The draft class that I think of every time, I'm always going to bring this up. You had Chase Winovich and Rashawn Gary in the same draft. They both played on the same Michigan defensive line. PFF harped on all draft season
Chase.
long. You can pull up the tweets, guys. If you just type in, if you go to PFF on your phone, on Twitter, and then you'll see the little search thing at the top. You can hit search, right? And when you hit search, just type in Winovich, Gary, and you'll see a tweet pop up. And it's basically them bragging, saying Chase Winovich is going to prove he's a way better pass rusher than Rashawn Gary. Winovich was out of the league like that, and Gary is one of the better edge defenders in the game, in my opinion. Many people would disagree with that, but I think he's a solid edge defender. So maybe not. He's definitely not all pro caliber, but I think Rashawn Gary is at his best. It's funny too, he made a Pro Bowl last year. Not that really matters, but at his best, I would say he was a great edge defender, right? Last year, I felt like he was very good. And I see some people go, well, we're overpaying for very good. I can understand that. But that's where you got to take the scheme into account and all the things we talked about. So, Coach Lynn, Sawyer's arms are too small for Green Bay. Some people will laugh at that stuff, but Jacob, it matters, man. They look at that stuff. They
do. Yep, they definitely do. I don't know. What do you? I really am starting to be more intrigued by Princely Unamelon from Ole Miss. That dude you talk about a freak. That guy is a freaking freak, man.
Yeah, we got him in the 49 spot, and the Packers have met with him too. And he scored
great.
He scored in between an 8 and a 9 RAS, unless it's been updated. I got to go back through and look.
Look at that rank in 24, dude.
Oh yeah, dominant, man. Dominant. Ole Miss, I'm telling you, man. Lane Kiffin pisses everybody down here in the South off. I'm telling you, they hate him with a passion unless they're Ole Miss fans. They can't stand him. He's just mouthy. But boy, he put out some prospects this year. My gosh, man. I think he's great for the SEC. Just down here, I'm telling you, it's every other day he says something to make somebody mad, and I love it. I listen to the Paul Feinbaum show during the late summers. If you guys have never watched or listened to the Paul Feinbaum show, listening to these rednecks call in and talk about their SEC football, I'm telling you, you'll go. I have. Your life can be in shambles, and you listen to 3 callers in a row, and you'll go, "Oh, I've got this life thing figured out." I ain't got a damn clue. It is awesome. So that's usually my pull time. I get home from work. The goal is to get in the house by about 3:30. Get in the pool. We got a TV out back. Put the Paul Feinbaum show on, and I sit back there like a beached whale with maybe a daddy soda, and watch Paul Feinbaum, and I just laugh my rear end off, dude. It's hilarious. All right, we're way over. Speaking of rear end, my wife's going to kick it here in a minute. So, Jacob, appreciate you jumping on, man. This was fun.
Yes, sir.
All right, we'll see y'all in the morning. We're going to do a morning show, 8:30 a.m. Central Time. We'll be back to talk some more Packers. My marriage is more important than my draft. How about this? How about we'll do a mock draft tomorrow night? All right, we'll do that.
We're doing a morning show or what?
Yeah, definitely doing a morning show. Definitely.
All
right. Special shout out to Josh Martin with the super chat, Godsmack with the super chat, and Godsmack again with the super chat. We appreciate y'all supporting the stream. Shout out to all the Patreon members, all the YouTube members. You guys are awesome. And Hardy the Prophet did reach out, so we're getting that LVN jersey ready to ship out to him and our other winner earlier this month as well. So up next, we're going to be giving away some really cool autographed cards. So again, we've been talking about them here. You guys know it's Sean Ryan rookie card autograph, Bo Melton autograph, Javon Bullard autograph rookie card, Katano Ladapo autograph rookie card. We got a jersey piece from Mason Crosby that's autographed as well on a card.
I might bet on that, dude. I might bet on
You might join the Patreon group.
Never.
I refuse. Anarchy. So if you guys want to join the Patreon group, scan the QR code in the upper right. Let's send you to patreon.com/Packer Fan Total Access. You're a member of one of the 3 tiers. You'll be entered into those giveaways. And obviously, you got access to the chats and all that good stuff, too. And it is rigged. Not really. It is. So, all right. Thanks, y'all. We're out of here. We'll see you in the morning. Everybody have a great night.
And we go.
We're out. Bye, guys.